Hello, students. I'm back and ready for the next lesson in our algebra unit. So just a little refresher. We talked about integers. I guess that was last week sometime. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And then most recently, we talked about equations. What an equation is, what a variable is, how to solve for a variable in a well, we've only went over one-step equations for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Okay, so today we're going to take it to the next step, which is looking at two-step equations and three-step and multi-step, just in general. And the good news is, as far as the algebra is concerned, we're not really doing anything different than what we learned in the last video. We need to undo the problem that we see. We need to use the inverse operation from what we see. And it's really not that much different. What we do need to learn is what order do we undo the problem, because now there's not just going to be one thing to do. So you're going to have to undo two or more operations, and if you don't do it in the correct order, then you're not going to do it correct. Okay, so that's the majority of what today's lesson will be about. Okay, so when I'm talking about order, this may sound familiar. Order of operations. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at my my page here. Okay, so order of operations. Order of operations gives you the order in which you must do a multi-operational problem. Okay, and what I mean by operations is add, subtract, multiply, and divide. We also throw in parentheses in there and exponents, roots, things like that. And so what hopefully you know, because I'm not really going to go over it right now, what hopefully you already know is that the order in which you do a problem starts with parentheses. Now, this is just working out a problem, not an algebraic equation, working a problem out with multi-operations. Parentheses. Then you do any exponents, including square roots. Okay, so you start with any parentheses that has operations in it. Then you move to exponents, square roots. Then you multiply or divide. We go from left to right on that to decide which one's first. And then the last operations in a problem that we would do would be add and subtract. Again, those are done from left to right. Okay, so when we talk about the order of operations, we start here and we work our way down. Okay, and once we finish the addition or the subtraction, then the problem should be over. All right, now that's solving a multiple operation problem, which is what has already been done when we talk about a multi-operational or a multi-step equation. Okay, if that makes sense. If there's more than one step, then that means when that equation was solved to get the answer, the person who solved it used the order of operations. So they started here and they worked their way down. All right. What you have to understand is if you think about what we learned in the last video about using inverse operations, the opposite. By doing that, what we're doing is we're unraveling the problem. We're undoing it. We're working it backwards. Okay. And so when it comes time to undo a multi-step equation, the first thing that we're going to start with is the addition or subtraction, okay? Because not only are we using the inverse operations, we're also using the inverse order, all right? So when we're working a problem backwards, remember we're kind of starting with the answer in mind and going backwards. Then really you start with any addition or subtraction. Then you would undo any multiplication or division, so on and so forth, okay? So if you know the order of operations, then you can use that knowledge to undo these equations in the proper order, okay? Going backwards. This is just a multi-operational problem. You start here and you move down. For a multi-step equation, you start here and move up, okay? Another way to look at it, PEMDAS is a lot of times what people say, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So if you're looking at it this way, this would be a multi-step problem. That would be a multi-step equation, okay? Go backwards. So let's take a look at an example, okay? Three x minus 4 is equal to 26. Okay, just like we were doing with the one-step equations, we're going to draw a line down our equal sign. And if you remember the purpose of that, this is your visual reminder that anything done on one side of the equation must be done on the other side of the equation. And if you remember why, it's because that keeps the two sides balanced. It keeps the two sides equal. So you can keep working that problem out, okay? Two big ideas for solving equations. Isolate the variable. And keep balanced, okay? This problem right now is balanced. How do I know? Because the equal sign tells me. Right now, both sides are 26. I can use this to tell. This is 26, and this is equal to that, so it's 26 as well. All right? So as I go through and change this, I need to keep it balanced. So why don't you pause this for a second and think about what operations you see here and what would be the first thing you would undo if you had to guess, okay? So go ahead and pause it. All right, so let's take a look at this problem. First thing I want you to think about is looking at this equation, all right, and really we're looking at this left side, 3x minus 4. I want you to think about what operations do those represent, okay? So we have the 3x, that represents an operation, and then we have the minus 4, okay? So the 3x represents multiplication, and the minus 4 represents subtraction. So if we observe that and recognize that, then we are going to undo those by doing the opposite operation. So the opposite of multiplication is going to be division. The opposite of subtracting 4 is going to be adding 4. So that's the two things we need to do. The other thing we need to know is which order do we do it in, okay? So do we start by undoing multiplication, or do we start by undoing the subtraction, okay? And if we go back up to our sheet here, and we look at we're on the right side, equations, and so we start here with any addition or subtraction and we work our way up, okay? And so this minus 4 is where we're going to start. So we need to undo minus 4 by using the inverse operation, which is going to be plus 4. Now look at this as minus 4 and plus 4, which really counteract each other and take each other out. That's 0, or it cancels, okay? So I'm beginning to isolate this side, but I must keep balanced. So I added 4 to this side, so I'm going to add 4 to this side. 26 plus 4 is 30. Now, this is important, okay? Try and be neat and bring everything down, all right? So your 3x is going to come down because it's still there. So now this is our next line of the equation. What I want you to notice is basically what we have there is a one-step equation, what we learned in the last set of videos. We see 3x, which is multiplication. This means 3 times what is 30. All right, 3 times what is 30. But we're not going to look at that. We're going to undo what we see. This is multiplication. So we're going to do the inverse, which is division. Divide by what you see. 3 divided by 3 is 1x. Okay, 3 divided by 3 is a single x, or you can see them as canceling. Bring the other side down. 30 divided by 3 is 10. Okay, so x is equal to 10. Now we can go back and we can check our work. Now, when you're checking your work, so we're going to plug or substitute the 10 in for x, and we're going to work it through this side and see if it is equal to 26. If we found the right number for x, it should be. Okay, so when we plug it in and run it through these multi-operations, we follow the correct order of operations. So we'd start with this multiplication and then subtract 4. So x is 10. 3 times 10 is 30. Minus 4 is equal to 26. When we plug 10 in, it makes a true math sentence, a true equation. Okay, so we know we found the right number for x. Okay, let's take a look at another problem. Let's do the other operations. We'll do a division. P divided by 3 plus 7 is equal to 11. Okay, and so I want you to maybe pause the video, write this down, think about what operations it is you're seeing there, and what you're going to do to undo them. Okay, what order, and then go ahead and see if you can figure that out. All right, so let's take a look at this two-step equation. What you may notice is P over 3. This is P divided by 3. We see division there. And then we have plus 7, so addition. So we have division and addition, which we are going to undo. We're going to undo that. Opposite of division is multiplication. The opposite of addition is subtraction. So those are the two things that we're going to do to solve for P. It's just a matter of starting with the correct order, okay? So when we are working through a multi-step equation, we're going to start with addition or subtraction, okay? And so the first thing we're going to get rid of is this plus 7. So the opposite of plus 7 is minus 7. When we do that, it eliminates. What we do to one side, we do to the other. Keep it balanced. So 11 minus 7 is 4. Now you need to bring down, your equal sign comes down right where it's at. And what's left on this side is P divided by 3. Okay, so here's our next line. P divided by 3 is equal to 4. So we want to undo divided by 3. The opposite of divided by 3 is multiply by 3. Okay, and when we do that, those 3's cancel and your P is free. If we multiply this side by 3, we need to keep it balanced and multiply the other side by 3 as well. And 4 times 3 is 12. Our variable is isolated, so we have come up with a value for P. Now we need to go back and check our work. If P is 12, 12 divided by 3 is 4, and 4 plus 7 is equal to 11. So when I plug 12 in for P and run it through this equation, it makes a true statement. So I found the correct number for P. Okay. So let's go look at some of the worksheets that I sent here. Let's start with this one. Okay, so I'm going to send you this worksheet, and it's a mixture of one-step and two-step equations. I don't see any negatives here. It looks like they're all positives. So let's just work on, how about you do, we're not going to do any single equations together here. So let's just go back up to the top. How about you do number 8 and 9. 8 and 9. Okay, so go ahead and pause your screen if you want to write down numbers 8 and 9, and then come back and we will go through. All right, so here's the first one that we're going to look at. 7 plus 4b is equal to 34. Okay, there's my line at the equal sign. I want to start here. So I know this 7 is just sitting here, but it's addition. There is a plus sign in front of it if you don't see anything, okay? So this is a plus 7, and then this is a 4b, which means multiplication. We need to undo each of those. So we start with addition or subtraction. We're going to get rid of that 7 by subtracting 7, and it's gone. What we do to one side, we must do to the other to keep balance. So I'm going to subtract 7 from 34, which is going to give me 27. Bring down your equal sign and your 4b. Okay, I'm glad I did this one because now I know this isn't necessarily going to work out evenly. And so I would assume as you're doing this worksheet, it's not necessarily going to be whole numbers only. So 4b is equal to 27. This is multiply. So we're going to solve it by dividing. 4 divided by 4 is how we bring this down to 1b. What we do to one side, we do to the other. So 27 divided by 4. I'm just going to write this as a fraction. So 4 goes into 27 6 times. Okay? Now 4 times 6 is 24. All right? Which means there would still be 3 left up here. And your bottom number doesn't change. So B is going to be equal to 6 3/4. Now, if you're going to check that, it's going to be a little tougher. You may want to make it into a decimal, which what I know is 6 3/4 is the same as 6.75. And so if you want to run this through your calculator, 4 times 6.75 plus 7 should equal 34. Okay. I'll do it here. I don't know if it's going to show you my calculator or not, but 4 times 6.75 equals 27 plus 7 is 34. Okay. So it does work. Not real happy that that's not a whole number, but it happens. Okay, and then the second one I asked you to do is this. Very similar to the last one. This is multiply, and here's addition. So we're going to get rid of that 2 by subtracting 2. Keep it balanced. 18 minus 2 is 16. Bring down your equal sign and everything left on the other side. 4c is equal to 16. This is multiply. So we're going to resolve it by dividing. 4 divided by 4 is C. Keep it balanced. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Now that's a nice whole number, so it should be easy to check. We'll plug it in here for C. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 is 18. Checks out. Okay.